Hi, my name is Anu Chetur. I'm a director here at Aryaka Networks, and today we're talking about Aryaka's unified SASE as a service and how you can use Aryaka's MyAryaka portal to manage and monitor the service. In today's demo, we will be talking about Aryaka's single pass architecture, which we call OnePASS. We will talk about distributed enforcement, our flexible and scalable policy framework, how we would use our Aryaka identity management service to connect to your IDP, use our secrets manager to do dynamic certificate generation, and finally, we will top it off by looking at the monitor tab to see how you can monitor your security services with Aryaka. We have a single pass architecture that we call OnePass that allows our traffic to be processed in a single pass kind of architecture. And MyAryaka supports the single pass architecture by allowing our users to configure their security service right alongside their SASE SD-WAN service in a single workflow. So all of your configuration is in one place for you to manage. So in addition to configuring your site's security service, you can also control your remote user security service right here on MyAryaka in a single workflow. And you do not have to worry about your sites are deployed with an ANAP or if your users are located in certain parts of the world. All of that security configuration happens in a single portal, and the distributed enforcement architecture that we have will ensure that the policies take effect at the right place. So if you're a site with an ANAP, the enforcement happens on the ANAP. If you're a site without an ANAP, then the enforcement happens on the POP. And if you are a remote user, or if you have remote users, then the enforcement for their security happens on the POP. So let us start our journey into the world of Aryaka's unified SASE with the configuration tab of MyAryaka. And much like the SD-WAN solution that Aryaka has, the configuration for security is self-managed, can be self-managed, co-managed, or Aryaka managed, depending on your service with us. And all of the configuration can be found at a single location and can be managed much like your SD-WAN service. All right, so this is the config tab of MyAryaka from where you would normally manage your SD-WAN service, and I am going to navigate over to the sites view. This is the sites view that describes the connectivity of your site, your QoS configuration, your security, and all of that in one place. The security tab is organized so that all the SASE services that you subscribe to can be visualized in a single place. One of the things that Aryaka does really well is that it's separated the various security services into individual policy engines so that it is easy for the administrators to manage each of these policies separately. Aryaka's unified SASE service has been separated out into engines that serve very specific purposes like reputation service, access control, malware protection, and IPS. Each of these can be managed separately without having to worry about the large-scale configuration that you might have. So changing something like an access list can be done without worrying about the consequence to a configuration that you've already done for anti-malware. Each of these engines can be manipulated separately and can have changes take effect immediately. So let's take a look at one of these engines and see what the configuration for this would look like. This is the network access control policy engine that Aryaka provides as a part of its NGFW SWG offering. Upon visiting it, you will see that you can get to see the complete configuration for the site in a single shot. The table begins its lifecycle with a default template. The default template will start with something that will let you get started with, but you can manage this as you need. So up top is an edit button that lets you manipulate this table as you'd like. And this table will let you reorder, add new policies, edit existing policies, clone policies, disable policies as you would like. So this is the edit view of the network access control page for a specific site. As you can see, this is a table that's ordered in a top-down manner, and there are controls on the screen that let you reorder table and its contents as you would like. Each policy can be seen with a summary view at the top, or you can expand each as you would desire. You can scroll and see the match criteria for each type of policy as well as the action performed on it, and you can edit each policy and make changes that you would like. Each policy comprises of a name, an action done to the traffic, and a method to identify the type of traffic that you would like to control. And depending upon the policy table chosen, each policy table contains a curated list of match criteria that is assigned to it. This gives you the most flexibility on what type of traffic might need to be controlled for a certain type of security control that you might want to apply. So right here in network access control, there's a wide variety of match criteria like source and destination IPs, zones, applications, networks, geolocations, and so on. So for each of these, the users have complete flexibility of configuration. The users can select conditions like if they are looking to match a specific source IP, or if they're choosing to match something that's an is not condition. So these kinds of controls are all available right here in the policy table, and multiple matches can be written either by hand or by using pre-made assets that are available to you. Once the changes are done, the user may continue on to making further changes to the policy table. I am going to make an example change right here where I'm going to pick this policy table, a policy entry, click edit, and change its action from drop to log only, and click continue. And I can make several of these changes to several policies in a single go. When I return back to the screen, I can see the list of changes that I made are indicated using a yellow tab. The yellow tab indicates what specific change was made. And if multiple changes were made, like a match criteria change alongside an action change, all of them will be seen right here in this mode, and they'll be indicated with the little amber icon right next to it. At this stage, if I'm unfamiliar with the complete scope of change that I need to make, or if I'd like a second set of eyes, I can save this change as draft and come back to it later. I can encourage my fellow administrators to come back and review this change with me, or I can go back and think on the changes that I would like to make, return here, complete my configuration, and come back to click submit. So I am going to click submit this change, and here I am prompted to see if I should continue activating this change to the network for right now, or would I like to stage a bunch of these changes together so I can push them to the network in one go. So let's say for now I opt to activate changes later. So this will get staged so I can push it out with other changes so that I can make a bunch of network and security changes in one go. This is how you make a simple, quick change to a security policy. But you might also have a more complex configuration, something that requires more flexibility and more scaling. One of the cool features of the security policy framework that we have is that we have templatization as the feature. So templates can be made for each policy functionality. Like in this example, network access control, I can make templates that have different purposes. Templates, let's say, for how network access control as a policy engine should function, like for, let's say, an HQ type site or a branch type site or my remote users, and I might have different needs for how I could accomplish this. So to be able to do this, right here on the left nav bar, there's a tab called Security where I can now manage my security policy templates. So here again, I can find the policy engine that I'm interested in configuring and click Network Access Control to see the list of all the policies that have been set up, or policy templates that have been set up for myself. The templates are of different types, and these are really cool to use. So there are 3 types of templates that we present. There is a global non-overridable template, which lets our customers' organizations create the same non-overridable organization level policies that you might want to apply to every single site that cannot be overridden by a single site's administrator. So those types of templates show up here as global non-overridable template, and they get applied to sites at the highest precedence in their policy tables. And I will show you what they look like at a site in a moment, but in addition to this type of template, I can configure 2 other types of template. The next is a high priority custom template. So unlike a global non-overridable template where every site gets this config or every private access node gets this config, a high priority custom template is similar, except that it is custom to specific sites. So I can say my US sites need one high priority custom template, while my China sites require another high priority custom template. And in the order of sequencing, a global non-overridable template is applied at the highest order, followed by a high priority custom template, followed by a normal priority custom template. So this gives you the most flexibility in terms of what types of config are applied to what types of sites. And because templates are reusable and attached to sites and groups of sites, onboarding becomes an ease because You simply associate a site to a site group. The site group is already associated with a template, and your turnup is as simple as making 2 sets of associations. So for large-scale complex configurations, templates come very much in handy. So at a site level, you can now see all of the templates applied in what order and if it needs to be supplemented with site level configurations and so on. But before I go into what it looks like at the site level when a template is applied, I'd like to show you how to manipulate a single template. So up top in the security configuration for a single policy table, add a template. And name and describe your template and specify the type of template you're configuring. You may configure a high or a normal priority template. And here you add policies like you would normally do. You provide your policy a name, set an action to it, and select a match criteria of any type that you're interested in, and click continue. So this creates a template with a single policy in it, and you may continue to add more policies as you would like. And when you are done, you choose what sites you wish to assign. At this time, if you do not know what sites you're going to assign, this is an optional config. You can skip the step and continue to creating your template. When you're ready and you have defined your profiles correctly and you're ready to go, you may simply assign your template to a site at that time. When you're done, you'll find that your template list now has the template that you created right there. That is the template that I created just now. Back to the list of sites, I'm going to go back and show you what it looks like when sites have templates attached to them. So I'm going to pick that site that I showed you earlier, go to Security, find Network Access Control, and look at the list of all of the policies applied. And you can see right away that at the very top is a global template, which is the global non-overridable template that I described earlier. And at the very bottom is the Aryaka default template, which is what every policy starts their lifetime with. And in the middle are site-specific policies that I wrote for this site. Now you have the template view, but you can also flatten out these templates so you can see the members of the template. So right here, you can see the global template has 10 policies in them, but if you'd like to see what they are, you simply click flatten and you get a flattened configuration that describes all 10 members of the global template, as well as the site-specific values, as well as the line from your default template. There it is. So this is what it looks like when it's expanded. Okay. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of flexibility in terms of what you can configure. You can configure policies per site, or you can apply templates, or you can do both if you want the flexibility of having custom configurations for a site. The other thing that's really cool that you can do to help with your configuration is what we call asset management. So configuration assets like collections of sites that we call site classes, or pre-made named collections of IP addresses, domains, categories, score ranges can all be made ahead of time and used across policy templates, site-specific policies, and even across tables. So it makes your life very easy to be able to configure all of these with a little bit of planning. But if you're the sort of person who wants to make configuration changes on the fly, that is also totally okay, because you can configure all of these things on the fly per policy as needed. So on one side, yes, you can have complex, scaled, flexible configuration. And on the other side, you can make impromptu changes to the network if you would like. So that is the policy framework. And the next thing I would like to show you is how Aryaka can be configured to connect to your IDP to detect the network users and configure and control them using our security policy templates. So here on the left navbar under Security, you will see a new feature called Aryaka Identity Management. The Aryaka Identity Management and the AIM service that we provide connects to our customer's IDP or AD server if they choose, and pulls a list of users and user groups that can then be configured and controlled over our network. So right here is the screen for what Aryaka's identity management looks like. And in this specific example, we have connected to the customer's Okta using SAML as the technique. The other options are Microsoft's Entra, and we are, in addition to supporting SAML, working on OIDC as a connectivity mechanism. So the form here lets you collect metadata information from Okta, fill in all of the information that is required for the Aryaka's identity management to connect to the IDP or to the directory services, and pull from the directory services or the IDP the list of users and user groups that are available to their network. Once this information is known via the identity management, these users and user groups can then be used as match criteria in policies. So let's go back to the sites configuration, and you can see this exact same config in templates as well. Pick a site, go to security, and select a service. This time, let's pick, let's say, anti-malware, right? So in the configuration for this, as you go add configuration, you can see user as a match criteria or user group as a match criteria. Here in the add policy workflow, in the list of match criteria, there is a selection for users. And the user selection, you can find that you can configure either individual users or individual user groups. Or if you need, and if the learned user groups are not sufficient, you can create assets that are collections of users or collections of user groups that are available to use in your policy table. So each of these can be selected as you wish and click Add Selected, and they become a part of your match criteria. Now, once these policies are written, these help the users control what happens to the traffic that's initiated by these types of users or members of these user groups. On the network, however, the network user needs to be detected. If our customers' users are accessing the network via our private access as a solution, the private access login information is passed on to the security services to be able to identify users. So those types of users do not need to do anything extra to identify themselves to the network. Simply by connecting to the private access service, their identity is known to the network. If your users are in the office, either connected to the Aryaka service using an ANAP or directly to the POP, the users will then be presented with a captive portal when they try to access a web resource using a browser. The captive portal is connected to the Aryaka identity management, which in turn is connected to your IDP or to your directory service, which then, when you log in using the captive portal, you identify yourself or your end users identify themselves to the network. And then now we can know who is using the network and what security policies need to be applied to them. So that is everything about Aryaka's identity management as a service. Next, I would like to walk you guys through dynamic certificate generation and mimicking of certificates so that we can then do certificate enforcement or SSL enforcement to web traffic. As you guys mostly know, the web traffic is all HTTPS these days, and we do perform a lot of security enforcements pre-SSL using IP and domain information, but sometimes our customers would want to do inspection that requires SSL decryption. So select traffic that requires SSL inspection can be configured to encounter engines that require SSL inspection, like URL-based reputation checking, or web access control, or anti-malware, or advanced IPS. All of these engines require SSL interception to take place so that we can decrypt the traffic, study the traffic payload, and then make security decisions and enforcements on them. So to be able to do this, we need to know what certificate should be able to be used in the handshake. A part of the service is the Aryaka Secrets Manager. So here on the MyAryaka portal, there is a feature called Vault. I'm just going to discard the changes that I made so far. And on Vault, there is a page called Aryaka Certificate Authority. All customers start with Aryaka as a certificate authority. So we assign a customer certificate authority for each of our customers, which then generates certificate authority for each of their access points. So if your enforcement happens on an ANAP, there is a site level certificate authority that resides on the ANAP. If your enforcement happens on the POP, the certificate authority lives on the POP. And all of your traffic is encountered by the certificate authority, which then goes ahead and mimics the certificates that are needed to be able to behave as a man in the middle for your traffic. Now, all of these certificates are stored securely in our vault, and none of this is written in clear text anywhere on any of our services or devices. And in the path, your traffic is intercepted. It is inspected to look for its security characteristics like their security score, the category it belongs to, the file reputation if malware is what is being looked for, or if a signature needs to be studied for advanced IPS. All of this is inspected and a decision is made based on it. Now, if Our customers would not like to use Aryaka as the main certificate authority that issues the certificates. They can opt to switch out of Aryaka and use one of their own. So the UI gives them the capability to generate and sign their own certificate authority, which can then be uploaded to this portal using the workflows that you see up here. And these then go ahead and create further certificate authorities for each of your sites and private access nodes, which then further go ahead and mimic certificates as needed. So that's everything about the config tab of MyAryaka. We're going to switch over to the monitor tab and show you how you can monitor your security service using MyAryaka. So this is the monitor tab of MyAryaka. The monitor tab now has a new left navigation bar item called security. And in the security tab, you can either monitor individual sites and their security behaviors, or you can look at your entire subscription in a single go by selecting the scope as global. You can only look at your private access nodes if you wish to, or you can select just your non-private access nodes, your regular sites that you want to monitor. For now, I'm going to select a specific site so you can kind of see the kind of data you might want to see. So up top at the very beginning, you get to choose the time range that you're interested to look at. And then upon clicking apply, the rest of the page loads. The first component of the screen is an engine sequencing diagram. This indicates the sequence in which the various policy engines are executing your traffic. So it gives you a clear indication of what happens to your traffic in the outbound direction versus the inbound direction. And the engine sequencing diagram lets you actually interact with itself so that you can see further statistics. So for example, if you pick an engine sequence item like network access control, it will show you, for example, how many flows did it encounter, how many flows did it drop, how many flows did it pass on to the next engines that are in the path. You can also see a distribution of how many flows did it permit versus deny. And if a specific policy action was applied, what were the distribution of the policy actions that were done by each engine? And you can do this to each of the various engines in the path for the data and study what happened for the period of time and look at the engine efficacy this way. Further down on the page, you can see the distribution of outbound flows and inbound flows that the various engines saw and how much of that traffic got permitted versus denied. And depending upon the engines that are in the path, in addition to being able to control the connections, we can also control the individual HTTP, HTTPS requests that are in the path. So you can see the statistics that are relevant to HTTP requests. We also have a DNS filtering engine, so you can see the DNS requests and response and their permits and denies. And further down the page, you can see the distribution of the overall health of your network. So here's a graph indicating what percentage of your IPs were good reputation IPs versus bad reputation IPs, and what was the distribution of domains and their scores. So the score ranges that we use range from 1 to 100, where 1 is a very low score and 100 is a very high score. And we divide them into ranges of 20s. So 1 to 20, 21 to 40, and so on. And you can see the distribution of those marked here in the donut. Let me show you what it looks like for a different customer, so you have a little bit more variety in stats. Pick a different node here. And further down, for example, you can see the domain scores and the ranges. And when the malware protection engine kicks in, a similar donut will be drawn showing the file health in terms of good versus bad. Now, in addition to being able to see the distribution across various profiles here, at the very bottom, there is something called security logs, which let you visualize the logs for the period of time that you selected. The logs are very detailed. The default view describes some rows and columns, but you can adjust what detail you see by selecting from a vast list of criteria that you might want to visualize for a flow. And up top, you can also search for a specific type of flow. So for example, if you're looking for traffic from a specific user, you can search for that specific user by searching with their user identifier. You can also add additional search and filter criteria by looking for, let's say, all of the traffic that are blocked by a specific engine or a specific domain or score range as examples. You can run very complex search criteria right here in the filters. And for any flow that is of interest, you can select that flow and preview it using the I button, where you can see some of the details right away and return to the table immediately and look for additional flows if you'd like. Or you can go into details by selecting the detail view. In the detail view at the very top, you get to see the detail of the traffic, like who sent the traffic, what did they try to access, where were they trying to go, and at what time did the flow set up and close. All of that is available right here at the very top. And below are a set of actions and verdicts that are issued by each of the policy engines that are in the path. So for example, you can see that the IP reputation engine deemed that the reputation was good and that the domain had a score of 37. And because the policy hit, the traffic hit a policy that says drop if reputation is under 40, and it was under a category called park domains, the policy dropped the traffic, and this is why the flow was dropped. So you will be able to see what happened to your traffic, what engines were encountered, and what reputation and score information right here. And in addition to that, I'm going to switch you out from here so you can see a permit flow and I can show you more detail. You can pick a flow and scroll at the very bottom, see a functionality that's called follow log. What follow log lets you do is it lets you trace what else happened to your traffic. So for a TCP connection, as an example, let's say you're trying to access a website like www.google.com. In the process, many HTTP requests are made to the network, and you'd want to visualize what happened to the various requests, what verdicts were they given, what scores were assigned to each of the various HTTP requests. You can see all of them by simply following a flow in its life cycle. So let me pick one of these. So you can click follow log and see all the other related connections or requests that were made for a line that you're interested in. In this particular example, you can see traffic from a specific source IP that's going in the outbound direction, going to a specific destination IP. And you have some information about this, but if you'd like to see what else happened when you encounter the follow log feature, you can also see there's additional traffic that is related either as an HTTP request or as the corresponding TCP flow, depending upon what you're looking at. You can further click on details to go look at that specific flow and see what happened to it. This is, in this particular example's case, this is the TCP flow for which the IP verdict was good, the domain score was 81, the network access control decided to permit and go look at the next engines. And then if you go further down and click on follow log again, you can see that the log that is going to be displayed is going to be the corresponding HTTP request that was associated with this particular transaction. I'm going to go back to it. And here you can see the traffic hit the URL reputation engine, which is the first engine in the path for post SSL, found the score was good and the category was internet portal, which permitted the traffic onto the next engine, which is anti-malware and so on. So yes, so you can use the follow log feature to kind of follow your TCP connection through its HTTP requests and see the distribution of these scores and the categories and the various policy actions and verdicts that were involved in making the security decision for any single flow. We have more interesting features like dashboards and alerts and notifications lined up in our immediate releases. So as soon as those become available to the production network, we would love to do another demo and walk you guys through that functionality. And as MyAryaka is a single pane of glass where you can monitor and configure and look at billing and alerts and notifications and all of that, the security functionalities will work seamlessly with those as well. So for example, when you look at the bills that you receive from Aryaka on the billing tab of MyAryaka, you can see that the security bills right alongside the SD-WAN ones. The ticketing portal that you use to contact customer support can also be used for security purposes, and the home screen that shows dashboards will soon have dashboards that are for the security functionality as well. Thank you for letting me walk you guys through MyAryaka today. With MyAryaka's portal, you can monitor and configure Aryaka's security capability, which is a part of Aryaka's unified SASE as a service solution. If you have any questions or would like to know more information about Aryaka, please visit our website at aryaka.com. Thank you.